Russia invaded Ukraine. 24 months. Ukraine has been devastated economically. Hundreds of thousands of people, both servicemen and civilians, have been killed. But Ukraine is still standing tall, not giving up, and still enjoying the support of the entire world. And Russia? Well, many Russians are saying not much has changed in their lives, in the lives of the country in the last 2 years. And Russian authorities, including its president, are saying that Russia is doing great, better than ever. I beg to differ. I think that view of current state of the country is completely delusional. And I want to prove my point today. Howdy, howdy, everyone. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. No propaganda, BS, or lies here, just truth, common sense, and logic, and some emotions too, because I am a human being after all. So, I would like to talk of the results of this horrible tragedy, the war, and I would like to make a few videos, few live streams, and I will start with the economy. Why economy first? Why do I keep stressing the importance of the economy? Besides the fact that I am an economist, I know it well, I enjoy the subject very much. Economy is the foundation of Russian regime. Regime's strength is based upon foundation made of coins. Situation in Russia can be explained in general in four simple rules. Number one, the top must have the servants who can use violence to keep people in check and to protect the top. Number two, the top must reward its servants well. Otherwise, the servants will not serve. Plain and simple. Number three, the top must distribute coins among people somewhat to keep them well-fed and drunk. Well-fed people equals more obedient people. And number four, the stakes are constantly getting raised. The harder the top pushes the people, the more violence needs to be applied to keep people in check. The servants who use the violence against people need to be rewarded more and more. That's it. That's simple. So Putin and the clique need to spend more and more coin to keep situation inside Russia under relative control. And I am not even touching the war, not even scratching the surface. I'm just talking about the regime support. But the war is where they're spending the major coin. So now, how does that apply, these four rules, how do they apply in real life? Let me give you an example. Alexei Navalny was killed in a Russian prison. Hundreds of thousands of Russians all over the country started going to different monuments to the victims of political oppression. Russia has monuments like that in every single major city, and even in smaller towns, as Russia has a long history of political oppression. So people started coming to such monuments, going to such monuments, and bringing flowers. Navalny's name is usually not even mentioned. Peaceful, lawful actions. Yet, it hasn't been taken well by the authorities. The policemen, A, started arresting people by packs while the people lay down flowers. And B, they started seizing and throwing out the flowers that people bring. Now, if you think that it's something that Russian policemen enjoy doing, I think you're wrong. The more work they have to do, the less easy they take it. Most likely, and I'm stressing it, most likely, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing, and I make my guess on just common sense and logic. Most likely, they are rewarded for the extra shifts and this extra curriculum work. Let's put it this way. After each extra shift, they, again, most likely write reports on how many people were locked up and how many flowers were removed from the monuments. And like the good Judas they are, all are rewarded by extra coin. Now, what happens if there's no extra coin? They still most likely would do it. Hey, orders are orders. But most likely, they wouldn't be so eager to do it. That just would go and do their jobs formally. And if they're offered extra coin, much extra, for applying extra violence, say the authorities would like to teach Russian babushkas lesson or two for example, speaking up. Extra coin reward would do the job. And no coin, no job done. And this is just one example, but it can be applied to all walks and corners of Russian life. That's why coins are the foundation of current regime. It's the foundation the regime is resting on. This is why understanding current state of Russian economy is hugely important. Number one. So let's take a closer look at it. It's been 2 years. At the start of the war, many economists predicted the sudden death of Russian economy, myself included. I also made such predictions, and I made it public, and I made streams about that. We made our predictions based on this perfect storm of economic isolation. That's what the international economic sanctions can be also called, the perfect storm of economic isolation. But we miscalculated a bit. A few things happened that helped Russian economy to stay afloat. And the biggest thing out of them was ineffectiveness of imposed sanctions for a few first months, to be exact, for first 9 months. Oil and gas prices shot through the roof following political instability in March of 2022. You must all remember how much you were paying to put gas into your cars in, let's say, April of 2022. A lot. And Russian state enjoyed unplanned record revenues from oil and gas exports. It made so much money in 2022 that money helped Russian economy to survive both 2022 and 2023. But now it's the end of February of 2024, and things are very different. And I'd like to talk of the current state and what's coming soon. Before I jump into details, I'd like you to help me out a bit. Please, as usual, hit the like button and make reposts in your social media accounts. But the most important thing, please leave a comment. Let me know if I'm clear enough speaking these things, and if you agree or disagree with me. And if you have nothing to say, well, just leave a couple of lines of encouragement. It'll be a pleasure for me to read. You commenting does wonders to this message exposure. YouTube loves it. You can always buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com or support the channel by becoming a patron at patreon.com. Either way is also greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. And let's jump into talking the numbers. Oh, don't I love that. Like I said, there are many Russians who claim that their lives are still the same as they were in February of 2022. Some are sincere, and some Russians are bought out by Russian propaganda. I know a few economists that are definitely bought out, okay? If you listen to them, you get a very strange picture of what's going on in Russia now. I think those people who are sincere, who are saying that there aren't many changes compared to 2 years ago, we shouldn't be listening to them because it's very subjective and many aren't simply telling the truth. Many people live in their bubbles and they don't look beyond their bubbles because you know why? It hurts. I personally know that well. Once you start looking outside your bubble and ask questions, well, you go through a transformation. So I'm not going to be taking into consideration what people are just saying subjectively. Instead, I will take the words of the authorities and the numbers of Rosstat. I will take the words of Vladimir Putin. I mean, who else would we trust with the numbers about Russian economy, right? I mean, he always tells the truth, right? In the last year or so, Putin said dozens of times that Russian economy, A, has withstood the pressure of the international sanctions, and B, has actually grown. So, my friends, let's call the bullshit out. And I'll talk a few things right now. Let's talk numbers. And I'll start with the most general and probably most used indicator of Russian economy and any economy for that matter, that's GDP. 3 magic letters, GDP. Putin recently voiced this magic number. Growth of Russian GDP is 3.6%, was 3.6% in 2023. According to Putin, to Rosstat, that's Russian National Statistics Agency, and even the World Bank, that number is confirmed. We can say that's the truth, right? Well, first things first, what is GDP? It's gross domestic product, a monetary measure of the market value of all final goods and services produced in a specific time period, usually a year, by a country. So, Russian GDP growth in 2023 was 3.6% compared to 2022. And usually it's a sign of healthy economy. Well, not so fast. Let's pick this number apart. Now, the following is the structure of GDP growth. What does 3.6% consists of, right? Let's take a closer look. Now, I'm going to be relying on something that not too many people, definitely not too many regular people noticed, perhaps economists, but they're all also in Russia, most are keeping quiet about that. I'm going to be basing my analysis on the numbers released by Rosstat. That's the official source of data about Russian economy. It's a part of the Russian state. Like I said, it's a National Statistics Agency. Rosstat posted in open a few numbers, but it did so, how do I explain? Now, you see, there's a phenomena. Not a phenomena, there's a trick. Russian government uses this trick a lot. When it has something to brag about, when it has some positive information, something favorable, it shares with everyone. Russia propaganda is all over it. But if something unpleasant happens, it's posted somewhere as news, but I call it somewhere in the behinds. And it's surrounded by silence. In a small newspaper with not many readers, and Russian propaganda, like all media, is controlled by the government, and no one talks about it. It's silence. And then when taken on the spot, for example, Rosstat says, well, it's an open. You just didn't look hard enough. Look, this was published here and there, and everyone has access. and to it, and Rosstat is usually right about that. So Rosstat posted very interesting numbers, and they explain what this growth consists of. Again, it was done unnoticed and surrounded by silence. So this is what this GDP growth is. 4.4% is increase in savings and reserves. I'll get to that later. 2.9% consumer demand increase. Those who signed contracts with Ministry of Defense or Offense receive high wages, and those who are employed in the military-industrial complex also earn well these days. And that is driving the consumer demand up. There's simply more money. People have more money, and they spend a lot. And 0.6% is increase in growth of military production. If you combine these three growth indicators, you receive 7.9%. But Putin voiced a number of 3.6%. It doesn't add up, does it? Well, we've got to deduct something here. Net exports. See, Russia relies on exports so darn much. And general net exports in Russia fell in 2023 by 34%. Now, in GDP, that amounts to 4.4%. We deduct 4.4% from 7.9, and we get 3.5. That's what Putin basically talks about, from 3.5 to 3.6. That's about right. Now, what is the increase in savings and reserves? Putin actually bragged about it when he went to the Far East tournée, touring, doing his presidential quasi-race, whatever, He mentioned that in one of the speeches. And he was bragging about it. He said, look, we have investments of 4.4%. Where did that come from? 4.4%. Savings and reserves. What is that? Investments? That's what Vladimir Putin said. But like I said, my friends, today we are calling out the bullshit. So, half of it are the reserves of the materials and parts that Russian companies, manufacturers have been buying and storing. Now, if you have a business and you are somewhere in the West in a normal economy, now you're listening to me and you're thinking, well, it doesn't make any sense. You do just-in-time manufacturing. You buy as much materials and as many parts as you need to create a finished product. It's called just-in-time manufacturing. I studied this thing, and basically the manufacturing plants, one of their goals is to get rid of the reserves. So they don't have any reserves, because reserves is basically frozen money. Yet in Russia, so many companies have been investing so much money into parts and materials. Why? Does not make any sense. Yes, it does in Russia. And that's actually very smart, because they know that something bad is coming in the future. They know that the companies are forbidding to sell parts to Russia, because all the parts are manufactured outside Russia, okay? In China, in other countries, mostly in China. And secondary sanctions are there. And the companies can all of a sudden stop selling to Russia, or they keep on selling, but Western banks, for example, Turkish or Chinese, simply stop doing business in Russia, and Russian companies won't be able to pay for materials and parts. So they've been stockpiling them this year. They are afraid that soon they won't be able to buy anything. Folks, we already saw that happen in the 90s. Plants, you see, in the Soviet Union, there were so many different manufacturing plants, and they relied on each other products. For example, one plant in Rostov where my dad worked was manufacturing combine harvesters. But it ordered so many large parts. Such engines were manufactured at a different plant, I think in Taliati, and wheels were manufactured at a different place, and lots of parts would come in. They were outsourced at other places. So lots of parts would come in, and then this place in Rostov would produce finished combine harvesters. And all of a sudden, in 1991, lots of plants went bankrupt. And this combine manufacturer had to idle for months and months and months, not knowing what to do, because it had sole supplier, for example, wheels. And what do you do when that supplier does not supply anymore, doesn't produce anything? So people still remember those times. And they started stockpiling, and it makes very much sense. But that's hardly investments. Putin is not telling us truth when he says it's investments. So 4.4% of GDP, not investments. 2.2 are reserves, and other 2.2 are investments indeed. That's true. But they're not new investments, okay? They are, let's take a large power plant. And if a large manufacturing plant wants to construct a power plant, that's investment, okay? But that's a long-term project. It takes sometimes up to 5 years to construct a power plant. So lots of projects, long-term investment projects, started like 3, 4, 5, 7 years ago, okay? And they're just getting finished these days. They're long-term projects, and something must be spent currently, to finish them up. But inflation is high, and the prices have gone up. And the investment plans, there's so much more money that needs to be spent than the investment plans of the past had on paper, if you know what I mean. So now companies are forced to pay extra, okay, to finish up old investment plans, the investment projects. But that's not it. There's more. Now I'm going to tell you a secret that I'm positive that you don't know about Russian economy. I recently learned, and I am quite amazed, shocked. In Russia, military products are considered investments. I don't know any other country with accounting rules where military projects are considered investments. In Russia, they are. For example, tanks, planes, drones, I don't know, troop carriers. It's all investments. Russian government is spending money, pumping money into military-industrial complex, and instead of spending on war economy, it's calling investments, and it looks very favorable on paper, okay? Rosstat, again, Russian statistics agency, is counting that as investments into Russian economy. And that's also amounts to 2.2%, okay? There's another indicator. Imagine what happens to a tank. The investment is not a very smart one, okay? When it rolls out of the plant, it goes to the front line, and the next thing that happens, it gets blown up. Investment lost. This is crazy, okay? Only in Russia. Now, there's another indicator not too many people paying attention to. If we look at GDP growth of 2023, it happened, the growth happened only until May of the last year. For the first 5 months, and after May, the growth, there was no growth, flat line. Economy hasn't been growing since June. So if we go to normal economy calculations, let's put aside the worst so-called investments and take 3.6% and deduct the reserves out of, the amount of 2.2%, we all of a sudden get not 3.6%, but 1.4%. Not 3.6, but 1.2%. See the difference? That was a usual situation in Russian economy, year after year, for a decade almost. A growth around 1%, 1.2%, 1.4%. And that's hardly growth. That's not good. That's bleak. That's called Stalin economy. I hope I'm explaining it in a way that you understand. I'm trying to do it as simple as I can. We're talking very complicated issues here. So please let me know if you understood what I said or you had a hard time. I need to know. I need the feedback. Thank you. Let's move on. Another important number, decline in general exports by 4.4%. What is that? In 2023, Russian economy received negative 34% if we compare to 2022. So it exported 34% less than the previous year. In reality, it's even more than 34%, much more, because, again, the numbers. Let's take the absolute number for 2023. $425 billion US dollars export revenues in total. So mostly oil, because Russia does hardly exports anything else. So oil, metals, perhaps enriched uranium, things like that. Raw materials are extracted from Russian soil and shipped abroad. And then in return, Russia receives 425 billion American dollars. But not so fast. Out of that number, let's deduct $61 billion. Why? Because they're stuck in India, in Indian banks. Russian government cannot get it out of India. Yes, Indians accept that they owe Russians 61 billion US dollars, and they're keeping that amount in rupees, in the local currency, and they do not transfer rupees anywhere else. They're offering Russian government to buy something in India for $61 billion, perhaps invest into Indian economy. It's fantastic. So Russians have nothing to buy in India except for only medicine. But all imports from India amounted to $5 billion. So 56 are still there. That's in 2023. Again, only option is to invest into Indian economy, like Indian companies, Indian infrastructure, roads, railroads, tunnels, bridges, and wait for 5, 7, 10 years for those investments to be returned, okay? So in reality, Russia lost many more than 34% of exports compared to 2022. I'm sorry. No. Yes, 2022. Whew. This number is actually the worst thing for Russian economy because, you see, Russia always relied on exports. Like I've said many times, oil and natural gas exports have been, were Russia's bread maker for so many years, since the 70s, when oil was discovered in Russia and they started selling it to the West. And it's gone. It's in complete decline. Not only Russia exports oil and gas, although it's the bread makers, also, for example, enriched uranium. And Russia has pretty strong position in enriched uranium because that's the only country that supplies this fuel for nuclear plants all over the world, and there's no one to replace it with. So it continues to supply, but the United States, after 2 years, is replacing Russian enriched uranium with Kazakhstan, uranium that comes from Kazakhstan. Also, kaput for Russian aluminum exports. It's been replaced by someone else. The world is a large place, as it turns out, and Russia does not control exports of the metals, uranium, and oil completely, as it turns out. Although they sell the Russians from the TV that's impossible to live without Russia, and the world will just simply stop turning round and round, which is not true. But many Russians believe that. So, Russian GDP, if we pick it apart, it shows that economy is not doing well at all. And we're calling out the bullshit, and we see that with Russian government pumping so much money, so many coins into Siloviki and military-industrial complex, that's not enough nearly to sustain the growth. And another problem of Russian economy currently is that the reserves account, the fund of national wealth, is nearly empty. So that savings account that Russia as a country had and was taking money for this and for that, that's almost empty. The next is lowest unemployment rate in the history of Russia. And Vladimir Putin bragged about it for quite some time. I remember in February of 2023 he did. In the late 2022 he did. And he hasn't bragged about it for so long because I think he finally realized, or perhaps his assistants who write his speeches, they realized that that is not good. And this is what they do. Another thing, they put it into every newspaper. They put it into every magazine, onto every internet site. You know that, oh, look at this. This is great. The lowest unemployment in the history. But then once the agenda changes, it just disappeared. It disappears as if nothing was ever said. Okay, and no one is talking about the lowest unemployment anymore. Okay, there are rumors that they're going to be bringing lots of people to fill those empty positions, vacant positions from Bangladesh and from African countries. Good luck with that. North Korea is not working out because they have to pay North Koreans more than they expect to pay. But the people from Bangladesh and from African countries, you know, they're not going to be paid much. So this is an indicator of limitation of Russian economy. It cannot grow even sustainably at the current level of 1.2%. It cannot continue growing because there are simply no people to work, to create product, to add value. And that's basic of any economy. You know, economy growing where products are created and goods and services are created and the value is added, okay? Why people are not there? Why the shortage of people? Why the lowest unemployment? Well, two simple reasons. So many, we don't know how many killed, but I think it's easy to say hundreds of thousands of people have been killed in the front lines. And other hundreds of thousands have been mobilized and they're still at the front lines. And many, many thousands have been wounded. They become disabled. And many millions have left Russia. They left to seek better life. I know well, I'm one of them. So this is a current number that 2.9%, the lowest unemployment rate in history, shows the poor state of Russian economy. Another situation, current situation in Russian economy is corruption, the growth of corruption and increase in criminalization of Russian economy. There are no numbers, but I judge by what Russian government is doing. It installs currency commissars, large companies that export something abroad and receive money from abroad, hard currency, American dollars, are obliged by law to sell 80% of hard currency that they receive from abroad to the government, exchange for rubles. And to make sure that the companies follow government's order, government has sent commissars, a special person to each large company that sits right next to the financial director and accountant, chief accountant, and monitors the situation and makes sure that such company, large exporter, large receiver of hard currency, is complies with orders and new rules. Why is it doing it? Because it knows, the government knows that if it doesn't monitor, doesn't check, if it doesn't enforce, then it will not see much of that hard currency that the companies exchange for rubles. That shows that there is a current level of criminalization and corruption. It's quite high and it's on the rise. The next thing they're going to be doing, of course, is corrupting and bribing those currency commissars, but that's a different story. Another problem of Russian economy, a result of two-year war, is lack of hard currency. So why does the Russian government obliges large exporters to sell hard currency and convert into rubles? Because it needs US dollars, because it buys everything from abroad. But if you don't sell things for dollars, okay, if you sell for rupees, obviously you cannot buy anything in China for dollars. So the dollars are needed for the importers, and importers right now are having troubles buying dollars because this market is over-regulated by Russian government, that's trying to keep the exchange rate, Russian ruble to American dollar, before presidential elections in check. The current level is 93, 94 rubles for $1. You know what it means for importers? They will not be able to buy things from China. Even if Chinese wants to sell to Russians, Russian importers won't be able to buy. They won't be able to pay. Forget about the banks, forget about obstacles, secondary sanctions. Let's suppose everything is fine. It's just they don't have dollars. And the Chinese don't take rubles. And you know what it means for Russian consumers? Empty shelves. Empty shelves. Shelves. Sorry. Shortages. Not food, but shortages of goods. We saw it in the USSR. It was a similar situation. It's coming. It might even come in 2024. I cannot predict that, and I wouldn't bet on it, but there's a possibility. And this is the state of Russian economy. Now, the next thing is inflation. Is up, up, up. Just today, I talked to a person who came from Russia, monitors all the prices, says that in 2 years, prices have gone up from 10% to 50% for different foods. And then for products, for goods, it's even higher than that. Officials were bragging about low inflation about a year ago. Last February, Vladimir Putin was saying in his nation to the address to the nation that inflation has been tackled down and it will not exceed 4.9%, I believe. That's what he said in 2023. Well, the official data is 11.9, and real life inflation is higher than that, 20 something, closer to 30%. Now, officials are simply not talking about inflation, as this does not exist, as if inflation is low and there's nothing to worry about. That's another one more time. That's a trick that propaganda is using, and that's bad, bad, bad. Inflation's up. Good for Russian budget, but very bad for Russian people. Well, that's one of those things. You don't have to be scientists to understand. You don't have to be economists to understand the inflation. Now, sanctions. In 2 years, I remember on the day one of the invasion, Russian politicians started coming out and saying, we're not afraid of sanctions. We're not afraid at all. Finally, if someone will sanction us and the Western companies would leave, that would leave market for our own domestic companies because they wouldn't have to compete with the Western companies and Western brands, and that's going to be great for Russian economy. So we're not afraid of Western sanctions, international sanctions. Moreover, we think it'll make economy stronger, and they would never leave anyway because all they care is about money. We have a large consumer market, lots of money. They would never leave. They started leaving in a matter of days. And Russian politicians, authorities started getting upset. And, well, to make a long story short, 2 years later, 24 months later, Russia is the most sanctioned country in the history of humankind with over... the list of sanctions has grown. I think right now it's around 14,000 different sanctions. Economic, social, educational, sports, you name it. Russia is sanctioned. It's the most sanctioned country in the history of humankind. Now, Russian oil and gas. I already explained the numbers, what happened to the exports fell by 34%, and GDP, it amounts to 4.4%. That's the decline. This is huge. But that's going to be growing because now the situation is worsening in Russia. Now I'm going to talk about future a little bit. What's going to happen now is the sanctions finally have started working. Well, they're working much more effective than they used to. Russian oil is being targeted at all fronts. Russians were able to circumvent sanctions by chartering a fleet of gray tankers. But those tankers are being targeted. The companies that provide tankers and the individuals that own companies, they're being targeted by American companies, international, European companies. So it's becoming more and more difficult to physically transport Russian oil. Indians have given up buying Russian oil. So only 2 large customers left in 2023, India and China. India has given up due to different reasons. One of them is price, another is the Americans are pressuring Indians not to buy Russia's oil. And Chinese are bound to buy less and less Russian oil because one simple reason, Chinese economy is falling and it will need less and less oil. So that's basically it for oil and gas trade. Of course, Russia is not selling much gas. Right now, the only pipeline it's using is through Ukraine. Believe it or not, it's supplied to Austria, and it's resupplied to European countries. But Austria decided to stop buying Russian gas. Ukrainians are not signing a contract with Russia for transporting gas through Ukraine. It's going to stop next year. And basically, Europeans are replacing or have already replaced Russian oil with Russian gas with gas from the United States, from Norway, and so forth. So, not looking good. And to put the last nail into coffin is they are discussing right now in the international community to lower the price cap for Russian oil from current 60 to 45. Now, Russia spends more than $45 to extract to extract and transport oil. And if it'll be able to receive $45 for its oil, for barrel of its oil, then it will not make any sense to extract and sell. Okay, so that's a very huge blow that is coming up soon. Also, like I said, the United States has worked out a deal with Kazakhstan, supposed to be Russia's ally, but it's not really an ally. So now enriched uranium is going to be supplied from Kazakhstan into different customers where nuclear power plants exist in operation. Used to be Russia. Rosatom was the company, state-owned nuclear agency, used to extract and enrich uranium and, sell it, export it. That's it. Exports are closing. Another blow. And Russian aluminum will not be accepted anywhere in the world soon. So, what's going on in the Russian military-industrial complex? The war stuff. I'll touch it lightly. There was a huge expansion of Russia's military-industrial complex in second part of 2022 and throughout 2023, well, for the first 5 months. And it was a real growth, but that resources for growth have been exhausted. There hasn't been any growth since May. Flat line. You need so many things to keep on growing. For example, you need people, more people to work. There are no people to work in Russia at the military-industrial complex right now. You need semiconductor. It's becoming increasingly difficult for Russia to buy semiconductors. It turns out that a huge amount was bought last year before last, from Taiwan. They circumvented the sanctions, but now those loopholes are closed, and it's becoming more and more difficult to buy semiconductor. Simply people working in 3 shifts, and you cannot build new plants so fast. A construction cycle is 4 or 5 years. If you start building a plant now, you will commission a plant and put it into operation at best in 4 years. Okay, if they started last year, they have 3 more years to go. They need more and more military stuff because Ukraine will be getting lots of new ammunition very soon. So they need to keep up, and they can't. So they're going to do something very, very deadly to Russian economy very soon. And I want you to mark my words. I like when you mark in my words, and we later, get to my streams, and then we pick them apart, and I compare where I was wrong and where I was right. I think that after the election, presidential election is over, and Putin is going to be elected the president, of course. Now, Dmitry Peskov confirmed that back in August that Vladimir Putin was already elected back in August. It was just a matter of time. So, and I don't have any reasons not to trust Dmitry Peskov. After Putin is inaugurated as new, old Russian president, we will see 2 things for the economy. Well, 3 things. First, Russian ruble will be devaluing. I don't know how fast it will devalue, but I know what number it's going to get to. 130 rubles for 1 American dollar. Because that's what Russian budget had. This number is in the calculations of a Russian budget for 2023. Okay, my bet it's going to be around 120 at the end of summer, and we'll see what happens next. But that's number 1. Number 2, they are going to increase sales tax. not too many people know, but in Russia, there's a national sales tax. It's called NDS, added value tax. All consumers pay this tax, and it's currently 20%. So what happened when Putin was elected last time? They took weeks after he was elected, they increased national sales tax, added value tax, NDS by 5%. 5%. They increased from 15 to 20. Everything started costing 5% more. Okay, consumers ended up paying the price. And this is what they're going to do this time. Mark my words. I think that added value tax, sales tax will be increased. I don't know which amount, at least by 2%, perhaps more. They simply need more money. They have a greasy hand and they put it deep down Russian consumers' pockets, okay? And the thing number 3 they're gonna do, that's a little complicated, but I'll try to explain it in very, very easy words. They're gonna finish the transformation of Russian economy from civil to war. You see, for the past 2 years, they've been beefing up military-industrial complex, but they have reached the capacity. They cannot do that any longer, anymore. Reached the capacity. People, equipment, everything. What they're going to do, but they need more and more stuff. What they're going to do is they are going to give orders to private companies, private plants, private corporations to create military products by government's order at the price that government will be willing to pay. Basically, they will turn entire Russian economy into a war economy. And then if you say, no, it's impossible, it's very possible. I actually talked about it while I was still in Russia in the summer of 2022. Because they were making these laws, they were changing legislation of Russian Federation, and they were laying ground to the possibility of government coming, knocking on your door, saying, hey, you bake bread? Well, there's an order for you for so many loaves of bread that you must supply to the army every single day, and we'll pay you the price. And you have no right to deny, to say no, because if you do, we'll jail you. There are laws, there's legislation. Okay, that's what they're going to do. Because they need to increase the capacity, and they've exhausted all the abilities of military-industrial complex. So this is where the economy is standing. And if you are listening to American journalists who tell you that Russian stores are fantastic and Moscow metro is beautiful. If you listen to people who visit Russian stores and say, look, there's no shortages, everything's hunky-dory. And they do that in Moscow or St. Petersburg or even in Kazan, if you talk to Russian people who say, well, you know what, not much has changed, think twice. Because look at the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. Those who put up the numbers, they can lie. But, some numbers we can say more or less accurately that they are somewhere close to truth. So look at numbers that explain Russian economy. Numbers do not lie, and numbers aren't looking good. The near future is decline, big decline, huge decline, and it's not looking good. Okay, this has been the part about the economy. I'm thinking at this point of making 2 parts. The results of 2022, 2 months, 2023, 2 years, 24 months, not just the economy. Russian society has been transformed, and it's still being transformed. And that perhaps as important as the economy. And I will tell you why. Economy is numbers, economy is coins, economy is rewards for those who are making tanks or those who crush the political opposition or simply regular people who don't like to put up with what's going on anymore. They're just coins. But also, there's something going on that is blood. Okay, that's also very important. I'm going to do a live stream explaining the results of the transformation of Russia's civil society. Please tune in, and I'll talk more about it tomorrow. Meanwhile, right now, I apologize, it's been a very long stream, but it's complicated stuff that we talked about today. And I would like to turn the live stream chat on. Please let me know what you think. The first thing I want to know is if you understood all the concepts, everything that I said, and if I explained it in words simple enough. It's very important. Please let me know. And this chat is not going to be very long, 10-15 minutes, because the message was super long. Thank you so very much. Let's turn the chat, live stream chat on, and we will finish this live stream with a prayer as usual. Thank you. I would like to say hello to the mods, Lorna, Mami K, Bob S, Amir Fazat, and Harry Potman. Harry is not with us today, but he is in our hearts and our minds. Thank you so very much, everyone, for coming. Dirk, Paula, Airborne Snail, Jodes Rames, Master Q, Mario, Leitmotiv, Kevin Baker, Pamela J, VJ John, Brother Randall, John, Bakerstock, Scott Nesbitt, Brenda, Justeri, Sam K. the Legend, Roy Cousins, from Baker Street, Andreas Benz, Aaron, Don, P.L. Demery Gray, Yannick from Estonia, howdy. I forgot how to say hello in Estonian. Shoot. The ambassador said that word tears or something like that. Sorry. Summer 613. Hope your mom is better, recovered. Erasmus, Tom W, Magnus, and everyone. Friends, thank you so much for coming. My honor to have you here. Again, let me know if you want me to notice your message. Please put it in all caps and put inside Russia after it's signed so I see it highlighted in orange. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for a super chat. 2 minutes to midnight from New Zealand. Thank you. I'm glad that you understood. The most difficult thing is not knowing this stuff, not researching, but explaining it in the words that non-economists understand. And this is my English is my second language. Don't forget that. So it's also a challenge for me to say it in English. Okay, I would explain better in Russia. Let's put it this way. Thank you. 2 minutes to midnight. Okie dokie. Mag from Mac Fun from Switzerland. I thought you're from Switzerland. No. There's also another viewer, another member is Mac Fun. KG1. Mommy K is busy today. Thank you so much for letting me know, Lorna. Been busy too. Sorry. George Ruberty, thank you so much for coming. Message received. Message was clear as usual. Bryce, thank you. Kermo from Finland, howdy. Finn French Gaming, have you seen an Australian man who only makes Russian supermarkets videos? His name is Russell. Not only I have seen, I know Russell. I met him many times. We made videos together, so I know Russell. I have seen him. Howdy all, from Tom W. George Rames, great economics lesson today. Thank you. I'm not a professor. I'm a student. Student of life. Thank you so much. KJ1, thanks for your support. Are migrants still being sent to the war zone? Can't be good for labor shortages. Who cares? Yes, they are still sent to the war zone. And it's not good for labor shortages. But this is how government works. One part of the government, mobilization offices, they are given an order to increase amount of people sent to the war zone. And then they don't care. They don't care how. They don't care what impact their actions will have. They are simply following the order. They're simply reaching the goal they're given by the Kremlin or whoever. I don't know who gives them the goal. Ministry of the Armed Forces, the Minister of Defense. They could care less whether it's good or not for labor shortages. They just do their part and receive coin because they do that for reward, you know? They wouldn't do it just for the salary, okay? That's why I stress again, Russian economy is hugely important. They run out of coin, they run out of servants. There will be no one to crush the opposition. There will be no one to arrest people. There will be no one to seek, find, and send people to the war zone. Thank you so much. Caesars from Czech Republic. Listening to the commissar part, I was thinking about Revizor. No, not the inspector general. My friend, there is a new position in every company. The government person, I think it's called commissar. Финансовый комиссар, financial commissar. And that's Google. I understand what you're saying, but that's no joke. And a lot of companies are freaking out. They're saying, hey, wait a second, what's going on? The commissar tells us what to do now. Sam K, thank you so much. T for Constantine, thank you. Cheers to you. I like the way you say Putin. It unfortunately sounds like Putin. Thank you. Sorry, I'm doing my best, you know. I sound my best. I can't do more than that. The mods are legends. I agree with you. Absolutely. Not just the legends. They're just the best. Thank you so much, Sam. Bronwyn, thank you so much from Australia. So excited. I am here live, usually at work or asleep. Know that I'm still watching your streams. Love from Australia. Thank you so much. I'm liking this message and liking every super chat, but thank you. I'm sending my love to you and to Australia from Uzbekistan. Thank you. You're a great member of Inside Russia community, our group. Thank you. We have a new sponsor, Bulletin. Thank you so much. Welcome to Inside Russia. Walters Ozolins, or Ozolins. Thank you so much for coming. Florent Nicole, there is no growth in Russia. Hey, let's talk about that. Interesting. Inflation is underestimated. Just a question, why to increase rates at 16% if you have only 7.1 inflation? Is it shooting a bullet in your own leg? You see, again, this is how Russian government works. Different agencies, government agencies, they have different goals. Central bank is in charge of the key interest rate. And its goal, and one goal only, to tackle down the inflation. And I think that this goal is given directly by Vladimir Putin, because he said numerous times, oh, inflation is low, it will be low, and they don't like high inflation because that stirs people up. People don't like inflation and they take it out to the streets, they talk, they act, they protest. High inflation is the enemy of Russian government. That's why tackling down the inflation is number one goal. And obviously, official inflation is not only 7.1% because they wouldn't, raise the interest rate so high. Okay, so number one goal is to tackle down the inflation, to keep it as low as possible. But they can't do that because there are different government agencies that are pumping money into the economy and then doing a counter job. Okay, Ministry of Industry, Министерство промышленности. Anyway, Industry of Industries, production, economic development. Anyway, those who are responsible for producing stuff, they are fighting the central bank. They're saying, what are you doing? 16% is you killing the manufacturers. And they are killing the manufacturers. But no one cares about the manufacturers anymore, okay? Because if the manufacturers can't manufacture, the government will come in, seize the plant, and, will install its own management. And Russian economy is going down to hell, okay? And your questions are absolutely right. It is shooting not just a bullet in their own hand, own leg. It shoots one leg, another leg, hand, another hand, shoots in the heart, and it bleeds out to death. That's bleeding out right now. That's what it is. Chuck, thank you so much. I'm just happy to see you out of Russia. Thank you. Me too. There was a time back then when you were being obstinate about leaving. Happy to see you made it. Well, the truth is, me and my wife, we decided that we were ultimately to leave Russia on the very day 2 years ago that Russia invaded Ukraine, on the 24th. I remember initial shock. I recorded the video. I cried in that video, It's still out there online. And me and Natasha, we got together and we simply started rewriting strategic plan of our lives, okay? And we made the ultimate decision to leave, but it's not easy. It takes time. It takes so many efforts. It takes so much money lost, forfeited, I should say. And that's why it was taking us a long time. We waited until the kids were done with school, and other kids had to go to school, and then we had to schedule everything, and that was a very difficult process. But thank you. I am also very glad I am out of there. It's just William, the atheist. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Russian leadership is in the process of becoming totalitarian state. Disagree with you. I don't think it's in the process. It has become, and the process is finished. It's there. And with aggressive behavior towards their neighbors, the only way this works is with slavery. Jews in Germany cracked down, about to get way worse. And I absolutely agree with the second part of your message. And basically, that's going to be the theme of my coming streams. You're absolutely right. I agree with you. Thank you. So, leaving your home country is quite a journey in your life. And, VJ, this is something I would not wish onto anyone. Happiness is when you are born in a country, you grow up there, you have life, you speak to your own people, you live along them, and you reach your goals, you make nice life for yourself, you get old in your country that you love, and you die there. That's happiness. What me, and not just me, but I don't know how many million people are going through, it's quite a journey, just doesn't cut it. It's not the right explanation. You missed my super chat. Stuff to consider. I apologize. Let me go back. Stuff to consider. Thank you so much. China won't commit to power of Siberia 2 line. It was known a few weeks before when China started. Remember, Vladimir Putin traveled to China. He wanted to nail that contract, to sign that contract, Sila Sibiri 2. He failed. Chinese told him off, okay, in a very rude way, by the way. And back then it was clear that's not wasn't gonna happen, was not going to happen. And what can I say? Chinese. I mean, they're just, that was expected by me. I guess it was not expected by Putin. But thank you so much for your statement. Thanks for your support. I think I haven't missed anyone. Just let me take a couple more questions and we'll finish the chat with praying. People from multicultural backgrounds do understand. Thank you, Tararaina Veirier. Thank you so much. Harry Hole. Power of Siberia pipeline has only 10% of the capacity that Europeans bought. And also after extension that was previewed 2027. It's not a question, it's a statement, and I agree with that. Nothing and no one can replace European markets for Russia. The dumbest decision in the history of mankind, that's going to affect Russia for hundreds of years. Easy money, clean money, transparent money, money that could be used to rebuild everything in Russia, build new schools, roads, bridges, you name it. They just stopped supplying to Europe. They made decisions, so Europeans gave up Russian gas. Crusader Damien, long time no see. The best questions on Inside Russia come from Crusader Damien. Thank you, friend. With the West increasing spending on military, a new arms race has begun. And I mentioned that a few weeks ago in the Wednesday update. It definitely has begun. You are absolutely right. The United States has committed to spend tens of trillions of dollars by 2040, I believe. So, will Russia suffer the same fate as the Soviets? Will Russia collapse again? Now, the first question is, no, Russia will suffer a different fate, not just as Soviet Union did. It has its own path. And the second question is, will Russia collapse again? Yes, it will. And it's collapsing. My stream is about today. Russian economy is collapsing. Okay, it took a longer time because sanctions that were placed in 2022 were just weren't effective. But the West is catching up now, and Russia is collapsing. It has been collapsing. It's all about the coins, the foundation, the economy. It will collapse. Mark my words again. Nightbot, I'm sorry, I couldn't get it up. I tried. Thank you so much. Opiate. Welcome to Inside Russia. Thanks for becoming a sponsor. Fake Notbot saying time is up. That's 28 minutes. Okay, just give 2 minutes and we'll be out. When I have complicated streams, really difficult. There's so many things to keep in my mind, and so much talking, my tongue starts hurting for some reason. Brian Struvik, thank you so much. God bless you too. Oi, Heidi, hi. When do you think Russia will go bankrupt? I don't know. I thought it would have been bankrupt by now. It wasn't. Again, I can predict now, but something will come up that will throw my prediction off course. And that's where I cannot predict. I don't want to predict anymore. I don't know. I don't know what happens next. Things can happen that will bring the bankruptcy closer. Some things might happen that will put it far into the future. But 2024 is the year to watch because Russia is collapsing, the economy is collapsing. I'm not sure if it's going to go bankrupt in this year, but in 8 weeks, Russians will start seeing very harsh results of the 2 years. Mark my words again, 8 weeks from now. The Russian elections have started, by the way, today, 25th of February. They're going to be, that's a fairly complicated topic, but they have started and they will be finished on March 14th. So they'll be happening for 2 weeks. So at the end of April, we'll come back to this topic. And you mark my words, Russians will feel the pinch. Russians will feel the changes in their lives. It's going to be absolutely visible and noticeable. MASH2 VHK, thank you so much. Just wishing everyone good health. Fight the good fight. Don't let evil overwhelm you, but overwhelm evil with good. Thank you so very much. Words coined in stone. Can I say that? Coined in stone. Oh, second language, it's coined in stone. And language written in stone, chiseled in stone. Anyway, thank you so much, Mesh. It's fantastic words. I really like this new feature when you can like the super chat. Thank you. Let me see if I have not missed anyone. Sam K, thank you for sponsoring one person with a sponsorship. I think this is it. Friends, KG1, news say Navalny died from blood clot. Well, friend, why would Navalny have blood clot? He is 47 years, he's 48 years old. Young, healthy, okay? Do you think that if it's true, do you think that his blood clot has anything to do with 26 times being stuck in solitary confinement where you cannot lay down, you cannot sit down, you cannot move? Do you think that his blood clot has anything to do with him not being able to walk and exercise properly, but to be stuck in a cell with other people? Do you think that has anything to do with tortures that he went through? I think it has something to do with it. Anyway, thank you so much. KG1 and everyone, mods, thank you. Let's finish up the stream and let's pray. I invite everyone to pray. We prayed yesterday, but it was a different kind of prayer. Let's do it. Friends, please join me in prayer. Thank you so very much, dear Lord, for giving us this day and this week. Thank you for putting food on our tables, for giving roofs over our heads, for surrounding us with people who we love and who love us. Please give us wisdom to keep the skies above our children's heads safe and blue and peaceful. Please give us wisdom to raise our children in a way that when they grow up and become adults, they will make this world a better place, will never ever engage in any wars. Meanwhile, please keep our children healthy and safe. Dear Lord, please help Ukraine stop the bloodshed and keep people safe. Send angels to Ukrainians so they protect the people, keep them safe, and answer prayers of everyone who has been affected, and make their wishes come true, please. Reach out and touch the hearts of those who are responsible and capable of making the decision. Fill them with love, mercy, empathy. Make them human again. Wake them up from their lethargic sleep that they're sleeping. And so they wake up and they see what has been done, and they would just get absolutely terrified, and they will make that decision to stop the bloodshed. Thank you. Dear Lord, please help my country, Russia. Assemble the army of your strongest angels with sharpest swords, led by Saint Michael in shining armor, and send them like heavenly avalanche to this earth to get rid of the demons who have hijacked my country, who we know by name and by face. Have angels help good people run Russia to make it loving, respecting, and peaceful. Dear Lord, please help everyone who is traveling, send them safe travels. Everyone who is in dire straits and in high waters, in danger, please help them. And everyone who is seeking for asylum of any kind, please help those who are seeking safety. Please help single mothers who are raising their children and struggling, trying to make ends meet. Send help their way. Dear Lord, please help all those who are sick, homeless, jobless, hungry, addicted, depressed, betrayed, hurting, feeling lonely, losing faith, feeling not well about their lives. Please reach out and fill their hearts with your love so they feel you. They feel your presence. They don't feel alone. They feel your support. They feel your angels. They feel happiness enter in their lives again. Please help them with anything they need to get rid of, to shake off addictions, to smile again, to feel confident, to come back with a faith. Just please help them with anything that they need so they feel you helping them. They feel you behind them. They feel happy again. They feel like smiling again, and they will have happiness coming back to their lives. Thank you so very much for letting us get together here in this online, virtual, but real community. Thank you for everyone who's praying along with me. Thank you for everyone who's simply watching us pray. Thank you. I would like to ask you for a few people who need your help, and please make everyone's prayer heard and make everyone's wish who are praying with us come true. And then please help those who needed your help. Their names are Sarah, little girl who is fighting for her life, has been in hospital for a long time. Please send recovery, send strength and to her and her family, mom and dad who are praying for her non-stop, day and night. Thank you. Please help Marie Doran, Redman Halfbreed, Warren's Peace, Jay Spike, Tracy, Denis from Kiev, James Marston, Gabing with Gary, Natalia Blanca, Eric Quinn, Frank Caprio, Jim in Houston, Frank in Texas, Paula W., Karena's mom Dorothy, thank you for helping Tracy. Please help Tim Mayers with lung cancer, Larry B., Colleen's dad, Dominic, Olga and her son Alexei, Jason Carney, please send complete recovery. Susie Mailer, send her strength and show her your love, please. Boss Simon, Scan family's grandson and Scan family's members, Wayne, who is fighting 2 cancers, Dave, Dawn, Kyle E's wife, Rhonda McGillis, Dory, and Larson's daughter, Hannah, Morgan L., thank you for giving recovery and please send more, Terry Carter's former in-laws and fiancé, Electron's family, John, Kurt from Colorado, Deborah, Bogey Berger and 2 sons, Natasha, Yelena, Michael, Jake, Oля, Dasha, and Sky, Bonnie, Svetlana, Liz Dumbrell, Darla, White Lightning, George Ruberty, Julia Haney, Nina, okay, Mr. Dean Spooner and his church, Grace Philosophy, Randolph, EMS paramedic Liz, Karen from Maine, Lori Miles' husband, David Porter, his family, and everyone in Chernovtsi, Ukraine, Alvin and his family, Terry Carter, John Lee McMahon, Meta Spencer, Pamela J. Live, Stefan from Sweden, Michael Yukon. Please help all the children who are suffering right now, scared, hurting, sick, and need your help. Thank you so much, dear Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you. Amen. Friends, thank you very much for coming. It's good to be back streaming on regular schedule. Thank you, Earl Lucky from Old Times. Good to see you, friend. I'll just check your super chat right after the stream. Thank you. And everyone, you're awesome, fantastic, and you rock. Please come back tomorrow for the message of how Russian society has been transformed and what the results of 2 years of war in Russian society. That's going to be sad, but very informative stream. Thank you so very much. You're awesome and you rock. I would like to ask you, as usual, to say along with me the following before I sign off. Out loud as you can. Carthago delenda est.